Brahmam yat prasadena Mayi Vishwam Prakalpitam Shrimad Swayam Prakashakyam Pranavami Jagata Guru Yah Paramatma Jagat Srishtva Pravivesha Punasvayam Tam Krishnam Pratyagatmanam Vande Gopi Manoharam Yasya Prasadadahamadvayatma Vishwam Samastam Mayi Kalpitancha Tan Sarvalokaika Gurum Sadashri Swayam Prakasham Gurumanatosmi Gurunam Charanam Bhojam Pranipatya Nirantaram Tatkripa Leshato Chinta Kaustubhamarabhe. Eka eva jivaha. On page number 96, in the original section of the original text, the very opening line over there, Eka eva jivaha. Why does the author need to say that this jiva is one with reference to context? The topic that we were dealing about is when we said that when the conditioning is that of the gross body, the consciousness is called as Vishwa. When the conditioning is that of the subtle body, the consciousness is called as Taijasa. When the conditioning is that of the causal body, the consciousness is called as Prajna, as the individualities. And these individualities are the part of the totality, because the individual is a part of the total. Just as this gross body is the part of this total physical world, similarly, even the subtle body is the part of the total subtle body. Okay? Now, and as we are progressing, do not forget the elements, the ingredients, if I can say, of the subtle body. Then, as this the individual causal body is the part of the total causal body. All right. So, therefore, with reference to the part and the whole, we have the consciousness also conditioned by the part and the whole. Conditioned by the parts, consciousness is called as Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna. Conditioned by the total, the consciousness is called as Vaishwanara, Hiranyagarbha and Ishvara. 3. So now remember the conditioning and that what is conditioned. The conditioning is of these 3 bodies as part and the whole, and the condition is just one, and that is consciousness. Now, when it is said that the Vishwa Taijasa, and Prajna. Therefore, with these three names, there can be a doubt, are these three individual entities independent of each other? Are there these three independent entities, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna? Presently, if you are listening to this lecture, then obviously identified with this gross body, with the physical body, gross body is the physical body, your status or your name is Vishwa. And if you understand that this Vishwa is not different from the total, and therefore there is a tadatmyam, identification with Vaishwanara. So now this totality, the God is expressing as Vaishwanara, and the Jiva is Vishwa. But there is the relationship of part and the whole, which allows you to see the tadatmyam, bhinnatve sati abhinnatvam. Don't forget all those things. Though there was a big long gap of almost a month in between. Recapitulate everything, bring it back. So the doubt now over here is Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. With the explanation of these three, are these three independent? Was the doubt. And therefore, because of this doubt, now the author had, because of a doubt which may occur, the teacher had to use Eka Eva Jiva. This Jiva is one. Now, in order to understand what has really been transferred to us by in the original text, let us go to the commentary section. Hope everybody, most of the people who are able to read the Devanagari and Sanskrit, they have the text to follow. And it would be nice if you can put your finger under the line, the word that we are going through, whether it is in PDF form or physical book. It will be helpful if you do this, because after some time you will realize that how to study the commentary. Over there in that particular paragraph, Nanu Vyashti Sthula Sukshma Karana Vimanino Vishwataijasa Prajnaha Samsarinaha Pran Nirupitaha. Sir, so now this Nanu means now he has come with some doubt. So obviously it is Purva Paksha. What is the Purva Paksha saying? Nanu Vyashti. Now he is talking definitely about the individuality, the Vyashti. Vyashti Sthula. Vyashti Sthula means the gross individuality or the unit. Vyashti Sthula, Vyashti Sukshma, Vyashti Karana Abhimanina. The one, all these three, and how are they? The individuality identifying with the physical individual unit, the subtle individual unit, and the causal individual unit. Vyashti Sthula, Vyashti Sukshma, Vyashti Karana Abhimanana. Who are they? Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. Samsarinaha. These are the samsaris. Now, when you say, Swamiji, I am a samsari, I am a samsari, a samsari just does not mean that one who has got some, who is a householder with wife and children, and that is not. Samsari means the one who is subjected to the experience of the world, and and world means something that comes and goes. These are the three who are subjected to the samsara. So samsarinaha pranirupitaha. Now we have already discussed, and the explanation has been provided to us about these three: Vishva, Taijasa, and Prash. They are samsarinaha. Te kim swatantra jivaha. Are these three independent of each other? Swatantra jivaha. Ahosvit ekasya eva avastha visheshaha. Or it is just one Jiva, but the states of experience are different. And because of the states of experience are different, the Jiva also gets called by different names in different states. Okay, this is the question. So what is the doubt? Are these three Jivas independent of each other, or is it the one Jiva being called by these three names? And what is the reason for the one Jiva to have these three names then? Because the conditionings are different. Okay, because the conditionings are different. Ekasyeva avastha visheshaha. So now let us look at the first available option, and that is that considering that these are three independent entities, independent of each other. Vishwa is independent from Taijasa, Taijasa is independent from Prajna, and therefore Vishwa is independent, Taijasa is independent, and Prajna is independent. That makes three of them, and three independent of each other. Swatantra Jiva. We are going to consider this first. So the Purva Paksha says, Nadyaha. This first option is not possible. Is not possible. Nadyaha. Sarvesham Swatantrataya Paraspara Bhedabhyupagame Sushukti Swapnayoho Anubhutasya Padarthasya Jagadavasthayam Vishwasya Smaranabhav Sangat. Yes, sir, this first option, though he himself has presented it, he himself wipes it out. So he says, Swatantrataya, if we consider them to be independent of each other, now, then that what was experience of the Prajna. What does the Prajna experience? Is available only in the deep sleep state, causal body. So his experience, the Prajna's experience is Nakinchida Vedisham Sukham Aham Svapsam. I slept happily. There was no worry, no anxiety, and there was nothing to be known. So there was total ignorance. I did not know anything. This is Prajna. Then the Taijasa, Swapnabhimani comes and he says, well, I dreamt of an elephant, a green color elephant. Okay, and he can dream whatever, green, blue, golden also, because that's his dream. So now this Prajna is, but not Prajna, who's he? Our Taijasa. Taijasa comes and says, I had a dream. Okay, and so his subtle body, he is the Abhimani of the subtle body. And now the Vishwa also comes and says, well, here it is the month of April and it is already so hot. We are sweating. I don't know what's going to be here in the next month. And in north of India, the heat continues to rise even in the month of June, at least down, in Maharashtra and below, the monsoons arrive in the first week of June. And June over here, because the rain here is brought by the eastern winds. And in Rishikesh, etc., this northern side, it is the eastern winds which bring the rain. And it is so hot, so they arrive much later in July, etc. The month of June is like sitting in a furnace. It is already hot in April, so he has his own experience. But along with that, when this Vishwa is talking about his experience, he also says, I dreamt, I slept, I dreamt of that blue elephant, I slept very well last night, did not know anything, no anxiety, no worry, I was very clean, clear, nice. So this fellow is talking about the experience of Taijasa as his experience. He is talking about the experience of the Prajna as his experience. And therefore, if these were the three different entities, Vishwa cannot claim the experience of the Taijasa and Prajna as his experience. So therefore, what is that now? The thing goes, Vishwasya Smarana Bhava Prasanga Sushupta Swapnayo Anubhutasya Padarthasya Jaganavasthayam Vishwasya Smarana Bhava Prasanga. If these were to be called as three different entities, then there should be absence of any memory of Sushupti and Prajna for the Vishwa. Vishwa, that memory of Prajna and Taijasa should not be available to Vishwa. But it is available. That means what? That these are not three independent but one. Okay. But how does this author say this? Anya anubhuta padartha smarana ayogadanyasya anyatha 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 ati prasanga. Because now if I start remembering what you have experienced, then it will become ati prasanga. That is your experience, and that is what makes somebody else as a different entity, independent. And when are they not independent? When that what is experienced by the Taijasa and Prajna is remembered by the Vishwa as his experience. And therefore, these are not three independent entities. So now we are left with the second option. What is the second option? That just one jiva is called by these three names because the conditionings are different. Okay. So now parisheshya. Tasmad dvitiyaha. Dvitiyaha is what? The dvitiya option. Vikalpaha. Tasmad dvitiyaha. Parishishyate iti aha. So parisheshya. Now what is left for us to really contemplate? Because other than these two options, can you think of third option now? No. So parisheshya iti aha. Eka eva. And therefore the teacher over here, the opening line is that of Eka eva jiva. The jiva is one. And the jiva himself is called as Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna. Remember this. And we have already seen that how useful is this whole knowledge of Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, Vaishwanara, Hiranyagarbha and Ishvara. Because this is how the individuality will be melted. And as stronger the individuality, stronger the ego, acute is the misery. Okay? When is the misery acute, piercing, sharp, as much as the ego is crystallized. Where the ego is not, the misery is not there. And therefore, because it allows this freedom, a, a greater degree of freedom from misery, this knowledge is an increasing degree of freedom also. Greater means, so obviously, it is an increasing degree of freedom from misery, and therefore, this whole knowledge is very, very useful for such upasana, for this kind of meditation. So now, further, tasmad dvitiyah parishishyate iti aha eka eva ayam bhavaha. Now, what exactly has the teacher conveyed as ayam bhavaha? Asangodasinaha pratyagatma avidyatmatvena upagataha prashya iti uchyate. Now, this whole paragraph is really very, very nice. Okay, ayam bhavaha. Ayam bhava means now this is the crux of that discussion. Asanga udasinaha. This atma, the self, unattached. Whether it is the gross body, subtle body, or the causal body, whether it is the waking experience, the dream experience, or the experience of deep sleep. These experiences keep on coming and going. And as long as there are these are the experiences, the experience of being identified with the gross body, identified with the subtle body, identified with the causal body. All these identifications also come and go. But this I, the self, remains unattached. This I does not come and go with their coming and going. I am as I am. And therefore, this allows us to know that in reality, this I is not attached to anything and anyone. Okay? The claim that, no, Swamiji, I'm very much attached to my granddaughter, I'm very much attached to my son, I'm very much attached to my husband, wife, to my dog, to my property, to my house status, my car. All these things will come and go. The Vishwa comes and goes. The one who says, I'm attached, also is given up. In the dream state, is not available. And in the deep sleep state, even that dream Taijasa is also not available. And therefore, don't you ever say, I am attached. You already are free. So, asangaha is one without any attachment. Udasinaha. Udasinaha means seated above. These keep on coming and going. Unaffected. So Udasina means unaffected. Unaffected. Why? Because he's seated high above. Actually, the Udasinatvam over here is like that of the rope. The snake will come and go, or even that pushpamala, the flower garland, or a crooked stick, or something else. All this will come and go, but they do not, the snake does not poison the rope, the garland does not make the rope fragrant, no, nothing. Call it anything. Udasina, unconcerned, unaffected is Udasina. Actually, who is this Udasina? Udasin, don't think about Udasin being somebody who is sitting with hopelessness or something like that. Aha. In Hindi, in colloquial languages, they use that kind of, the words change the meaning. But in Sanskrit, Udasina means Utasina, the one who is seated above, unaffected. And that is what you have to discover about yourself, that this I is in reality seated above. All the problems that you are crying about are the problems belonging only to Vishwa. This Vishwa will come and Vishwa will go. Taijasa will come and Taijasa will go. Prajna also comes. So, but then here I am. This I is unattached and also unaffected. So asanga udasinaha pratyagatma. This pratyagatma, that I am the inner self of all, what happens? Avidyatmatvena upagataha. And when seen, identified with the ignorance, avidya, prajneti uchyate. The same one is called as avidya atmatvena upagataha. Underline that word. Atmatvena upagata. How is he understood? As if identified with the ignorance. I am ignorant. What is the claim over here? I am ignorant. I did not know anything. In the deep sleep, I did not know anything. So, avidyatmatvena upagataha prajna iti uchyate. What is he called? Prajna. Okay, prajna. Remember, called as prajna. स एव सूक्ष्म शरीरम आत्मत्वेन उपगतः. Now this prajna, already identified with ignorance, then still furthermore brings into its fold what more to identify with? The subtle body. Sukshma shariram atmatvena upagataha. Already he calls himself ignorant, and now he also says, I am a psychological entity. Okay, this is my character. All that claim is prajna. I'm very intelligent. I'm sharp. I don't like this. I don't like that. Who is saying it? It is Taijasa, actually. It is the Taijasa speaking. So, Sukshma Shari, because I am sharp, I am intelligent, I am good, I am bad, I am helpful, I am not helpful. Is he talking about the physical entity? No. I love, I hate, I am punya, I am holy, I am profane, punya papi, etc. Punyavan papi. Who is he talking about? Obviously, it is now he's talking about certain psychological traits as I. And therefore, Sukshma Shariram Atmatvena Upagataha. Basically, ignorance is accepted as in the definition of I. Now, in the definition of I, there is inclusion even of the subtle body. And therefore, Sukshma Shariram Atmatvena Upagataha Taijasaha is called as Taijasa. So, Eva, furthermore, he has got two things which are not actually I, but included in the definition of I. The causal body and the subtle body. Avidya atmatvena upagataha plus sukshma shariram api atmatvena upagataha. Then third thing he is going to bring into the definition of I. Sthula shariram atmatvena upagataha vishvaha. And then now he brings into the definition of I even the gross body, the physical body. Thus bringing that physical body into the definition of I. Now the claim is, I am a man, I am a woman, I am young, I am old, I am adult, I am minor, I am white, I am black, I am tall, I am short, I am so on and so forth, everything that you can speak. Now, sthula shariram api atmatvena upagataha vishvaha. So, the self, the actual, how is the actual self? Unattached, unconcerned, unaffected. But yet, in the definition of the self is unattached, but in the definition of the self, now seems to have come into the fold what? Ignorance. Thus calling the I as I am ignorant. Plus, I am the subtle body. I am the gross body. And thus now comes he, that same Asanga Udasina Atma is called as Vishwa Taijasa Prashya. Who is called as Vishwa Taijasa Prashya? That Udasina Asanga Atma only. Okay, so eva sthula shariram atmatvena upagataha. So now what all things has he included in the definition of I? Atmatvena upagatani kani vastuni tatra santi. So first of all, that avidya, sukshma shariram and sthula shariram. Evam विश्वतैजस प्राज्ञाः प्रत्यगात्मनः एकस्यैव अवस्था विशेषाः इति इममेवार्थं स्पष्टयति जागृत अवस्थायाम् इति. Now, this Vishwataijasa and Prajna are three states. Actually, these are the three states whose of that asanga udasina pratyekatma. Pratyekatma means the inner self. So, and how is this inner self? Asanga and udasina. Let that be very clear. You don't have to become asanga and udasina. That is your nature. Nobody is going to make you asanga and udasina. Oh, Swamiji, my husband will start attending Vedanta lectures, then he will become asanga. Not. He already is, so are you. By you making him attached to you, he is not going to be. And that is his nature. Oh, who's that of the Pratyagatma? As long as he is going to say he is only Vishwa, he will say, I am attached to my wife, children, house, this, that. But the moment he sees that, well, this Vishwa, Taijas and Prajna are my three different states. Then who is this I? Whose states are these? He is Asanga Udasina. And thus he comes back to his own nature. And as many times you can allow yourself to remember this throughout the day, you will be saved from the onslaught of misery. Because misery begins with identification with Anatma. Okay, so giving up this attachment with the Anatma is the only thing to be done. But how? Now look at it. एवं विश्वतैजस प्राज्ञाः प्रत्यगात्मनः एकस्यैव अवस्था विशेषाः इति इममेव अर्थं स्पष्टयति. So these are the three states of one Pratyagatma, of that inner self. This meaning or this point is further clarified to us by the teacher in that same sentence. Jagradavasthayam sthula sukshma karana vidyabhimani san Vishva iti uchyate. So when is he called as Vishwa? Just not identified only with the gross body. No. Identification with the gross body will take place only when there is identification with the subtle body. Identification with the subtle body will take place when there is identification with the ignorance, causal body, karana sharira. Okay, so identified with ignorance, with the subtle body and with the gross body, Now, this Atma is called as Vishwa. Iti Vishwa iti uchyate. Evam. Okay. Arthad anena tvam padartha shodhanopaya vyatirekau darshitau. Now, what has happened, truly speaking? Do you understand what is the implication of this whole discussion that we have really done so far? Arthat means what is the prapti, what really has happened. Anena, by this, tvam padartha shodhanupaya. Now, actually, in the sentence Tattvamasi, in order to understand the meaning of word tvam, we need to apply a process, a method of understanding, of analysis. And this process of or methodology of analysis is called as Anvaya Vyatireka, is the process of Anvaya Vyatireka, of inclusion and exclusion. The method of inclusion and the method and exclusion. So by this of Anvaya and Vyatireka, one is able to understand, know a fact. Okay? Know the fact. About what? About the word I. Because in the what is the sentence? Aham Brahma or Tattvam. So there are these two words. Tvam. Tvam means you. So when the speaker says you, the understanding which rises in the listener is I. So about this word I, we need to understand something. Oh, I understand everything about myself. What will you tell me? Oh. Yeah, according to you, the meaning of I is only wish. But we have seen you even far beyond this wish. There goes that, a little dialogue which had taken place between Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda once. Vivekananda had asked Ramakrishna, do you see God? And this Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he said, I see him, I see God more clearly than I can see you. For you, you are only Vishwa. But the teacher is able to see that you are well beyond this Vishwa, because you are even the Taijas, Praj, and the Asangatma, well far beyond, untouched, unaffected by all the drama of Vishwa, Taijas, and Praj. All that you need to do is to match your vision with the teacher's vision. And how will that happen? Through the words of the teacher. Through the words of the teacher. And by those words, the teacher is applying a method, and this method is called as the Anvaya Vyatireka. So, Tvam Padartha Shodhana Upaya. It is an upaya. It is a method. Method for what? Tvam Padartha Shodhanam. It is the method to understand the Tvam Padartha. What is the meaning of the word you? in the sentence, you are that. Tattvamasi. Tvam padartha shodhanopaya. This is the method. You will have to resort to this method if you want to understand the meaning of that word. So, shodhanopaya anvaya vyatireka. Oh, anvaya means inclusion, vyatireka means exclusion. So, we will have to use these two methods. Actually, it is one. One in the sense, there are two aspects of the same thing. Anvaya and Yatireka. Darshitau. Tathahi. How, sir? Look at it. Tathahi. He gives you further thing. Jagrat avasthayam shariratraya sakshittvena. Swapne shariradvaya sakshittvena. Sushuptau karana sharira sakshittvena. Samadhav Shuddha Swaprakasha Chidrupena Bhanam Anvaya. What is called as Anvaya? What is inclusion? What is inclusion? In the waking state, this Atma, I am the witness of all the three. I can see all the three. The gross body, the subtle body, and also the ignorance. I'm aware of all these three. Okay, I am aware of all these three. The gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, the ignorance. Ignorance is called as causal body. Ignorance. Ha, karana sharira sushupta, ha, jagratavasthayam shariratraya sakshitvena. So in the jagratavastha, I am the witness of all the three bodies. In the swapnavastha, I am the witness of the subtle body and ignorance because the gross body is not available. In the sushupti, in the deep sleep, I am the witness of ignorance, the causal body, because the gross body and the subtle body is not available. In samadhi, in the state of samadhi, absorption, Shuddha Swaprakasha Chitrupena Bhanam. I am available as myself, Chidrupena, as pure consciousness. Not as awareness, not as the content of awareness. So when you say, I know the part, I am conscious of the part, I am conscious of, or I am aware of the part. So the part is the content of your awareness, consciousness, or knowledge. You see? I am not the content of awareness. The gross body, subtle body, even the ignorance, these are all the contents. Then what are you? I am just this pure awareness whose contents were all these experiences. And where do you discover yourself like this? In samadhi. So now, in the Jagrat Avastha, I am the witness of all the three bodies. Therefore, I am included over there. In the Swapna Avastha, in the state of dream, I am the witness of the two bodies, so I am included over there. In the Sushupti Avastha, I am the witness of the causal body, so I am included over there. And where all these three are also absent in this Samadhi Avastha, I still am there. So have you found absence of this I anywhere? No. In fact, the I is included everywhere, and therefore this is This is by the method of inclusion you have discovered that this I is what? Pure consciousness. Okay. So now in the definition of I, whatever was included, whether it was the body, the psychology, the ignorance, all have gone, and you have arrived at the definition of I, which is the true definition, and not of with the conditions. Okay. Swapne sthula sharirabhanam. In the dream state, there is no awareness of gross body. Sushuptau sukshma sharirabhanam. In the sushupti, in the deep sleep, there is no awareness of the subtle body. Sukshma sharirabhanam. Samadhav karena sharirabhanam cha. Now, in the state of deep absorption, meditation, samadhi, there is no awareness even of ignorance. And therefore, all these three are excluded. Huh? So, this is called a Shariratraya Vyatirekaha. So, Shuddha Chit Prakasha Rupena Bhanam Anvayaha. To discover yourself as pure consciousness is Anvaya and Shariratraya Vyatirekaha. Where is that? That unawareness of all the three bodies, how, where, and how you have already seen, is called as Vyatireka, Shariratraya Vyatirekaha. Okay. Now this is the methodology called as Anvaya Vyatireka, which has to be employed in order to understand the meaning of word I. In order to understand the meaning of word I, where in the sentence Aham Brahmasmi, or in the sentence Tattvamasi, you. Both these words. Okay. Bhavati eva. Further. Chittasya vrittishunyataya atma ekakaravastha samadhi. Sir, you did not talk to us about samadhi. You have spoken to us so far only about Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti, the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep state. But you haven't spoken yet about Samadhi. And suddenly in the Anvaya Vyatireka, you have brought the topic of Samadhi. Can you kindly tell us what is called as Samadhi? So you can underline this and keep it as your definition of the word Samadhi. Chittasya vrittishunyataya. Now, when the mind is free from all the thought processes, vrittishunyataya, where the mind has ceased undergoing all modifications. Vritti is basically modification of the mind. And therefore, where the mind has stopped creating all modifications, vrittishunyataya atmekakaravastha. And therefore, now this mind has no object, anatma vastu, no object to identify with. And therefore, because there is nothing that it should shape itself into, therefore the shape shifter mind now goes and settles where? As Atma, because there is no anatma padartha for it to go and for it to entertain. So goes and sits where? As Atma. And this particular state of the mind then is called as samadhi. Chittasya vritti shunyataya atmekakara stha samadhi. Tadanim dehadishu sarvatra abhimanasya nivrittatvad samadhi avasthayam shariranam vyatireko bhavati eva. But sir, it is still the state of mind. Huh? It is still the state of mind, sir. And the prajna is well beyond mind. So over here, he tells you, Dehadishu, how with all the three bodies, Sarvatra Abhimanasya Nivrittatvat, there is no identification with anything, even with the gross body, subtle body, or the ignorance. Since there is all the abhimanas, all the identities have gone into oblivion. Nivrittatvat samadhi avasthayam shariranam yatireko bhavati eva. Therefore, in the samadhi, all the three bodies can be considered to be absent, can be considered to be expelled, can be considered to be excluded. Okay? So this is therefore that this is the method of Tvam Padartha Shodhanam to arrive at the proper meaning of the word I. Now, not simply any definition of the word I. I am good, I am bad. People call me bad, but actually I am very good. Huh? And then keep convincing people all your life how good you are. Your wife says you're not such a good husband, and then you keep on convincing her how good you are. Then your children are going to say, no, you're a father, you're a loving father, but sometimes you're like this. And therefore you keep on trying to please your kids. Therefore you keep on trying to do things. And every time then you want to be something. These are the various definitions of I. Definitions of I is not what we want. Then what do you want? We want the meaning of the word I. And in order to come to the meaning of the word I, we have introduced you the method called as Anvaya Vyatireka, the method of inclusion and exclusion. Okay? Bhavati eva. Now let us see more of it when we meet next. I think my watch is running fast. Brahmaham yat prasadena mayi vishvam prakalpitam Srimad Swayam Prakashakhyam Pranavmi Jagata Guru Yam Paramatma Jagat Srishtva Pravivesha Punasvayam Tam Krishnam Pratyagatmanam Vande Gopi Manoharam Yasya prasadat hamadvayatma Vishwam samastam mayi kalvitancha Tam sarvalukaika gurum sadashri Swayam prakasham gurumanatosmi Gurunam charanam vojam Pranipatya nirantaram Tatkripadeshatu dvaita Chinta Kaustubhamarave Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaha Purnamudachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Padarayanam Sutrabhashyatam Vande Bhagavantam Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Thank you all. Thank you very much.